had the opportunity to to intern at Intact Therapeutics, which is located in Palo Alto, California. My mentor was Chris Son, and I will be presenting on the antisense oligonucleotide treatment on Crohn's fistulas inflammatory properties. Oh, how do I go to the next slide? Okay. So the big picture is ultimately Crohn's disease. Since Crohn's disease is on the whole upper GI tract, we wanted to specifically target perianal fistulas, which is formed only in those with Crohn's disease. It's formed only in those with Crohn's disease, and it's an abnormal tunnel-like passage that connects the rectum to the outer skin of the rectum, and it's caused by bacterial buildup and inflammation of the tissue. So the focus of our research was an oral formulation on this Crohn's fistula. It had an antisense oligonucleotide, which I will be referring to as ASO, poloxamer, and the antibiotic is in red because we have barely began testing the compatibility with alicoforsin and poloxamer. So our goal was to inject the hydrogel into the fistula tract after an abscess drainage to promote reduction of inflammation and future closure of the tract to prevent this chronic condition from happening again. So we tested an ASO and poloxamer compatibility. ASO was specifically tested on the TLR9 signaling pathway since it is meant to inhibit this pathway by blocking the TLR9 receptor. And by blocking the TLR9 receptor, there is less inflammation. And so poloxamer was added because we wanted to increase the residency time of ASO in the tract after drainage. Poloxamer at room temperature is a liquid, and as it heats up, it becomes a gel, which increases the residency time. So the material that we used was a TLR9 NF-kappa B reporter cell line, and this was used in a 3-day cellular assay procedure. On day 1, we stimulated this. No, we did not stimulate the cells. We seeded the cells, and we left that overnight under controlled conditions. The next day, we treated the cells, and we let that incubate for an hour. After that hour incubation period, we treated the cells. We stimulated the cells, and the stimulant basically activates the surface receptor, which is TLR9, and which then activates the NF-kappa B pathway, and that promotes the luciferase reporter. And then on the 3rd day, we add a detection substrate, which essentially kills the cells, and it has luciferin. And in the presence of luciferase, it creates an oxidation reaction, which produces a bioluminescence, and that bioluminescence reports how much TLR9 activity there is. So we began with testing the stimulant actually does agonize the TLR9, and we can see that on the left graph here, since the curve does increase. On the left, we test that the ASO does inhibit TLR9, and we can see that since the inhibition or the curve decreases. On the left here, we are testing poloxamer and alicoforsin compatibility. The blue bar has alicoforsin, and the orange bar does not have alicoforsin. We chose a concentration of 5 micromolar since this is the optimal range. It's in the optimal range of inhibition on the inhibition curve. And we can see that as poloxamer concentration increases, there is still no effect on how alicoforsin inhibits the TLR9 since the luciferase activity. Okay, on the right here, since they are compatible, we continue to test the shelf life. And the first 2 are just the baseline activity, and we can see after 14 days that the alicoforsin continues to inhibit TLR9, which is what we wanted. So The next steps is to continue testing the shelf life, and we also want to add an antibiotic since we do want to prevent future bacterial infection. And if the antibiotic is compatible with poloxamer and alicoforsin, then we would continue to add that to the stability studies. And if all goes well with that, then we would test we would develop an animal model and do animal testing. So my reflection is, I learned a lot here actually. I came in with the idea that I was going to focus on upper diffuse GI bleeding. The diffuse bleeding on the upper GI tract, but sorry, I'm blanking out. But Chris and I ultimately decided that this would be better since I am a bio major and this is focused on cell lines and polymers. It did expand my horizons on cell lines and polymers, and I also learned a lot about cell culture, cellular assays, experimental design, and literature research. So yeah, I learned a lot. Finally, I just want to acknowledge my mentor, Chris. Thank you so much for being my mentor. You were a wonderful mentor. He was nothing but supportive and patient to me. I had a lot of questions. He explained them through and through, and he explained them in simple terms if needed. Yeah, and I'm very grateful for you, Chris. Thank you. I also want to acknowledge Ravi, the CEO and co-founder of Intact. It couldn't have been possible without him. He's super sweet. He had wonderful advice, and yeah, I had no complaints. Honorable mentions to Sophia, the program director, and Dana and Daniel. Thank you.